Right, hello, can everybody hear me? I hope so. Right, sorry, I've had a shuffle around of my setup and I think it's messed all the systems up. But it should be working smoothly now. It looks like it's working on my end. So welcome back to the Crypto Saving Expert News Show, where we keep you up to date on the latest cryptocurrency news so that you know exactly what is going on within the markets. I hope everybody had a lovely Christmas. Please just let me know in the chat that the sound is working. Perfect, thank you. So let's take a look at what's been happening over here. So we have Bitcoin at $16,850 and Ethereum at $1,220. We really still haven't seen much volume, and you're going to be sick of me saying this. I've said this numerous times on the last couple of live streams, but the 24-hour chart still isn't above 1%. 24-hour percentage change still isn't above 1%. We still haven't seen much movement. We have seen a nice, very, very small pump this morning on the Bitcoin chart, but nothing worth mentioning really. It's been very, very small. Taking a look at this on the 1 hour chart, if we zoom out here, you can see we have been within the $17,050 level to the $16,260 level, and that's counting the very extreme wicks since back in the 16th of December. So it's been 10 days and we have not really moved from outside of this $800 section. So it's very, very slow moving for Bitcoin. This is what we expect during the holiday season. People are off enjoying themselves, which is exactly what I'm going to do after we finish this live stream. But right now the volumes are low. People aren't really moving. We did see a small dump yesterday. If I zoom in really, really closely, we saw let me get this on. We saw the price go down to $16,700, and then we saw a nice big pump upwards to the $16,900. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this isn't a big pump. This is a $200 pump. But when you look at the price action that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, we really haven't seen this in a while, so it's very nice to see. Now, Boxing Fan has said, I like the live streams, not full of people pretending to be the host and trying to get you to WhatsApp them or promoting miracle traders. Thank you very much. We do these every single day, Monday to Friday, even on Boxing Day. So make sure to like and subscribe and press the bell notification button so that you don't miss these daily uploads where we talk about the latest news. And also make sure to go over to our Twitter. Let me put a link into the chat now so that people can share this tweet. Oh, this tweet is not sharing for some reason. Let me see if we can get this live before we start today's news information. Right, what I'm going to do is send that to someone in the team and ask them to help me. That is not what I wanted to share. Right, looks like that's gone. Never mind, we'll move on. We'll carry on to today's news. For today, we are looking at the FTX seeks court intervention in battle with SBF over $450 million in Robinhood shares. So FTX is seeking assistance from a US bankruptcy court in determining ownership of about $450 million owned by an entity set up by Sam Bankman-Fried in Antigua and Barbuda. So taking a look at this article, Emergent Fidelity Technologies Limited is described as a special purpose holding company that appears to have no other business. It is also 90% owned by Sam Bankman-Fried. 3 different shareholders have claimed 56 million shares of Robinhood, and the court filings add approximately 56 million shares of Robinhood Markets. Let's scroll down here a bit. These shares have since been claimed through court actions in different jurisdictions by 3 competing stakeholders since FTX filed for bankruptcy. They include BlockFi, Ben Shimon, and Mr. Bankman-Fried. BlockFi is seeking the Robinhood shares as a creditor of Alameda and wants to sell them to pay BlockFi's claim. Mr. Shimon was a creditor of FTX who was successfully appointed as a receiver in Antigua to obtain control of the shares and sell them under supervision of a court in the country. Sam Bankman-Fried is seeking ownership of the Robinhood shares as a payment source for legal expenses in his ongoing legal battles. So basically, even if Sam Bankman-Fried gets hold of these shares, he will be spending them on legal battles, and it won't really benefit the FTX users. If BlockFi managed to have ownership of these shares, then it may be used for some good. But let's carry on with this. FTX added that it has instructed EDFM to freeze the shares promptly as soon as bankruptcy proceedings begin in November, as they belong to its estate, which has a claim of ownership to them. Therefore, the motion requests that the shares remain frozen until the bankruptcy court resolves the issue. He said the fact that multiple repetition creditors of different debtors, I really am struggling to speak today, and Mr. Bankman-Fried are all seeking to obtain possession of the Robinhood shares demonstrates that the assets should be frozen until the courts can resolve the issue in a manner that is fair to all creditors of the debtors, FTX explained in the court filing. Now, I expect there's going to be a lot more news over FTX in the next couple of weeks, and we are going to keep you up to date over here. Let's take a look now at the rest of today's news. We have North Korea's crypto heist. $1.2 billion has been stolen since 2017. So the state-sponsored North Korean hackers have stolen more than $1 billion in crypto over the past 5 years, with about 50% of the theft conducting in 2022. So they've stolen $500 million in 2022, according to a TRT World report that cited data from South Korea's spy agency. Merry Christmas, Hamzak. Let me just check into the chat before we check in with this. Its audio sounds good. Merry Christmas, Hamzak. Merry Christmas, boxing fan, and Merry Christmas, Evan. I hope everybody had a lovely day yesterday and continues to throughout the festive period into New Year's Eve, where we have another day. I love New Year's Eve. It's the best time of the year, I think. Let's carry on with this article then. Per the report, the hacker stole $1.2 billion in crypto around the world since 2017, which includes about $626 million stolen this year. The report added that more than $78 million of the ill-gotten funds came from South Korea. According to the agency, the hackers are expected to carry out more cyber attacks in 2023 to steal advanced South Korean technologies and confidential information on South Korean foreign policy and national security. The report stated that North Korea has turned to crypto hacking and other illicit cyber activities to generate fast money to support its weakened economy and fund its nuclear program following UN sanctions imposed on the country. The agency added that North Korea hackers' ability to steal crypto assets is now rated amongst the highest in the world due to the country's focus on cybercrime since UN sanctions were reimposed on the nation 5 years ago. Taking a look down here, meanwhile, earlier in November, South Korea and the United States vowed to strengthen cooperation to combat North Korean threats in cyberspace. Both countries hold a second working group meeting on North Korean cyber threats in Seoul. The two nations agreed to join forces with related industries and the international society to come up with various measures to combat North Korean threats in cyberspace. Now let's carry on here because we're going to get to some articles that I'd like to go into more detail to in just a second. Now, a court has approved Core Scientific's request for $37.5 million loan to fund restructuring. So a bankruptcy judge in Houston granted US Bitcoin miner Core Scientific approval to obtain a $37.5 million loan for a group of creditors to fund its restructuring process. So the Core Scientific goes bankrupt. We saw this. They filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on December the 21st. We covered that in the live stream on that day. And citing a decline in Bitcoin prices, increasing electricity costs and global hash rate as the main reason for its financial troubles. So right now the miners are really struggling. We've seen that the price of Bitcoin has crashed. They're still spending money on hardware. They're still trying to keep up with rising electricity costs and being able to continue to mine the Bitcoin. So when they've sold the Bitcoin they have, they're trying to sell Bitcoin in order to cover the cost of the electricity and the hardware. But when Bitcoin goes down in value, that means they have to sell more Bitcoin in order to cover those costs. And eventually they don't have any more Bitcoin to sell, and that becomes the issue. And then they still have these expenses that they can't cover in selling Bitcoin. Now, when Bitcoin mining services do go bankrupt, it is maybe positively a positive sign for Bitcoin. Now, it's obviously negative for that, and it means that we have less miners and therefore the network is slightly less secured. However, it means that we don't have that selling pressure. They're constantly selling Bitcoin in order to cover the expenses of the electricity and the hardware. But when they've sold all of their Bitcoin, there's no more selling pressure coming from those areas, and therefore when they have When Bitcoin's going up, this is perfectly fine. It's natural. We see this selling pressure and we see this distribution within the markets. But when it's going down, the constant selling pressure, they're selling more in order to cover the electricity costs than they would have done when Bitcoin was at a higher price. The selling pressure increases. Now, let's carry on with this article. The development continues after Core Scientific filed for voluntary Chapter 11 bankruptcy on December the 21st. In October, the troubled miner disclosed that it was running low on cash and could file for bankruptcy if its financial situation did not improve. The prolonged bear market greatly impacted Core Scientific, causing its Bitcoin stash to dwindle from a September record of 1,051 Bitcoin to just 24 Bitcoins. This is exactly what I'm talking about. When the price drops, they have to sell more and more Bitcoin in order to cover their expenses, and that means their Bitcoin stash is going to deplete massively. Earlier this year, one of Core Scientific's largest creditors, B. Riley, offered the company $72 million in new financing to help it avoid bankruptcy and continue preserving value for its stakeholders. So if they can get money to push them through to the next bull market, then they can continue, and we don't think that's that far away. It is anticipated that the next bull market will be in 2024, and that means that they can continue mining and supporting the network. It is unclear if Core Scientific accepted the offer, but reports claim the company is making arrangements to obtain financing for its restructuring process. Core Scientific will seek financial approval for the loan and authorization to obtain an additional $37.5 million in January 2023. The company's attorney stated that the firm is open to considering better financial offers from other lenders. Chris Hansen, a representative of the creditors providing the loan, shared in court that Core Scientific's existing stakeholders believe in the company's long-term viability despite the current issues and the decline in Bitcoin's price. So we have seen previously Bitcoin mining firms follow the price of Bitcoin quite closely. When Bitcoin is up, their price usually rises, and when Bitcoin goes down, their price usually sinks a bit. So a lot of people are expecting in the next bull market, when we see Bitcoin go up, this company could benefit from this greatly. So if they can just make it through this next part, they've made it through the worst of it. Bitcoin has completely crashed down to the floor, but I believe anyway, that it can't really get much worse than this. So if they've made it through the hardest times, if they get some loans that can push them through, that would be brilliant for them. In addition to obtaining funding for its restructuring efforts, Core Scientific and bankruptcy crypto lender Celsius Network have decided to settle a long-standing debt payment issue between the two firms amid their bankruptcies. The two companies have been engaged in legal proceedings over Celsius payment for higher electricity costs since it filed for bankruptcy in July. And Celsius' attorney stated that the company is very invested in the long-term future of Core. Now, let's move on to the next article here, because we are going to talk about transparency within exchanges. Now, this is something that has come to light since the FTX collapse and is now very, very important within the cryptocurrency space. And OKX are now saying they are going to publish a proof of reserves audit every single month. And I believe this is a great step forward for the cryptocurrency space, because we do need that transparency. That is why a lot of people came into the industry, because Bitcoin is decentralized, transparent, and secure. They are the three reasons that people enter the space, and then we go on to centralized exchanges and we completely lose all that transparency that we've come here for. So if the centralized exchanges can become more transparent, then we can trust them more, and we can't see things like FTX happen all over again. So let's take a look at this. They've now published their second proof of reserves report. The first one was last month, and it published in its first one that it was showing more than 100% ratios for Bitcoin, ETH, and USDT. So this means if every single person that had Bitcoin on the exchange decided to withdraw all at once, they have the reserves to do so. And the same for Ethereum, and the same for USDT. The exchange noted that its Merkle Tree proof of reserves program covers three major assets: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT, while Nansen's dashboard covers additional assets. Now, taking a look at this, OKX also promised to publish its proof of reserves monthly on the 22nd day of each month as part of its commitment to transparency. New features for OKX proof of reserves also allows users to view OKX reserve ratios for new and historical data, and when they self-verify on-chain assets, users also can now download the files containing new and historical data. The Seychelles-based crypto trading platform said it published more than 23,000 addresses and will continue to use those addresses to enable the public to audit asset flows to show transparency in its publication. The OKX CMO has said, publishing proof of reserves results on a monthly basis, strengthening our commitment to lead the industry when it comes to transparency and trust. At OKX, we believe that the proof of reserves should be verifiable via open source tools so that users can self-verify the balances and ownership of our reserve addresses. Now, this is a huge step for the cryptocurrency space, I believe. I do believe even if FTX didn't collapse at this point in time, if the markets continued going upwards, it would have done at some point in the future. And all of these steps needed to take in place. So even though the FTX space crash was horrible for the industry and a lot of people lost a lot of money, it will in the long term be beneficial for cryptocurrency because we get improvements like this. Transparency on centralized exchanges was needed, and this has been the push that we needed to actually action those requests. Now, moving on to the next article, we have stablecoin trading volume hit $7.4 trillion in 2022. So this is just a recap of the actions within 2022. We also had a great newsletter out this week from the newsletter team. It went out yesterday on Christmas Day, and it discussed the changes that we've seen through this year over from the crash in May to FTX collapse and many other things as well. So I will cover that. Maybe I'll cover that over the New Year's Eve period. We'll have a recap of the year. Maybe that'll be one of the live streams around then. So if you want to listen to that and you didn't receive the newsletter, make sure to go to cryptosavingexpert.com and put in your email so you don't miss any more newsletters. Every Tuesday at 11 a.m. they get posted. And also make sure to like and subscribe, so we'll cover that newsletter later this week. Moving on to the final article, we have Japan's FSA is considering lifting the ban on foreign issued stablecoins. So they'd banned coins such as USDC and USDT in anticipation of and they want to lift this ban in anticipation of Web3 adoption, I should say. Japan could be working towards reversing a ban on the use and circulation of foreign-issued stablecoins. According to a CoinPost report next year, the country's financial services agency will lift the ban on the use and circulation of the stated stablecoins, revising Cabinet Office ordinances and establishing guidelines for their use. The new regulations and guidelines will be applied in line with the latest revised Payment Services Act, expected to come into effect in 2023. So this is more positive. We don't want to see bans on cryptocurrency. We want to see adoption. Now let's take a quick look back at the Bitcoin chart. Before we came on this video, I completely spilt my coffee everywhere and it's kind of spreading, so I don't have much longer. And literally as I pressed live, I knocked over my whole mug, so I need to go and sort that out. But let's take a look at the Bitcoin chart really quickly. We're at $16,860. We're seeing a little pump on the 15-minute chart. Let's put some technical indicators in here, but I can tell you right now exactly what we're going to see. We're going to see nothing. We're going to see neutral price action because that is what we've seen for days now on the Bitcoin chart. Let me go over to the 4-hour chart. You can see even here, on the 1-hour chart, the MACD is at the baseline. The RSI is at 55, so it's pretty neutral. We're not oversold, we're not overbought, we're not in bullish momentum, we're not in bearish momentum. The volumes are low. We are going to see a big move one way or the other, but right now we have no indication of which way that is going to be. So that is why you need to make sure that you're watching these live streams every single day so that we can keep you up to date with what is going on and we can be prepared for the next move for cryptocurrency. But right now, that is all for today. I hope everybody has had a lovely Christmas and now is getting back to it. It is still Boxing Day, so I'm going to log off straight after this live stream, go and get a new coffee after I've ruined all of mine, and have a lovely day. I hope everybody is having a lovely time. Thank you very much for watching.